Hi everyone, this is Imani Bamel. I will be doing my PowerPoint on unlearning conditioned thoughts. This overall PowerPoint will be addressing the injustice in the Black community. I want to start off by apologizing for the late submission. I was going by our unit's due date, which was today, and I didn't know we had to do it on Wednesday, so I'm going to say sorry about that. Um, so I'm excited. I hope you guys enjoy. If you have any questions, feedback, I am willing to answer them. So I will be referring back to the PowerPoint which is in front of me. So I'll be looking back and forth, okay? So let's go. The first part of my PowerPoint, I'm asking a question, what is a predator? The reason why I added this into the PowerPoint is because the next slide is going to be a video of Hillary Clinton addressing individuals of the Black community, especially the men, as being a super predator. And that term has stuck with men of that community for a very long time, and it shows some type of prejudgment when they're seen in the community, some fearfulness from other cultures and things of that nature. And I feel like nobody truly knows what a predator is. And when I think of being a predator, I think of someone that's vicious, someone that's a threat, and that's something that we don't want, okay? So within this PowerPoint, I'll be addressing the law enforcement, individuals who are not minorities, so communities that are not minorities, discussing injustice and solutions, as well as educating Black culture. So the next slide, you're going to press the video of Hillary Clinton. I want you guys to take a moment to listen to that, listen to what she's saying, and just, process the things that she's saying and addressing. So within that slide, you'll see a definition of what a predator is from the Webster Dictionary. I'm going to read that. It states that a predator is defined as one who injures or exploits others for personal gain or profit. And I feel like when you target someone and call them a predator, they're not necessarily gaining anything. To be honest, they're not exploiting anyone. They're just being judged. So before they even get to do anything, they're already seen as a threat. Our next slide is speaking on what injustice do Black men especially face. One of the facts that I enlisted according to NAACP website is that African American people make up less than half of the U.S. population, but our Black men make up more than half of the prison population. I thought that was very interesting because a lot of their crimes are petty crimes, or crimes that could be rehabilitated, and compared to any other race, they get the largest sentencing. Um, so I'm going to point out another fact that's listed in here, actually two. One states 1 in every 37 adults in the United States, or 2.7% of adults' population, is under some form of correctional supervision. With that being stated, the Black community seems to be the one community that's always watched. So they feel as anything that they do, they're being watched. If they mess up on anything, they're going to automatically be penalized for it. And that's a stigma that I feel like needs to be addressed. Another important fact I listed is in 2014, it states that African Americans constitute 2.3 million, or 34% of the total 6.8 million correctional population. As I stated before, they make up half of the U.S. population, but make up the majority of the prison population. So, what can law enforcement do to alleviate discrimination? One thing that they could do to alleviate discrimination is having proper training. I thought of cultural training to learn the community that you're going to serve, to learn what to look out for, to learn how to not become biased. If you have any personal thoughts, not to impose them on your job, or integrate them into each other. Another thing that can help alleviate this stress is a communication presentation, meaning going out to the community, seeing how they feel about individuals who are in the Black community, and understanding their pinpoint and addressing their misunderstandings. So, for example, if somebody feels that African American men seem as a threat because they were all Black and they feel that they're going to be robbed, we can address that as in that could be a cultural attire, something that they like to wear, things like that. So our next slide, I have a picture of two men that committed the same crime. One's a Black man, one's a white man. And I thought this case was very interesting because not only did they commit the same crime, they both pled guilty, and the African American man was executed, whereas the white man was not. And the facts of this case, if the African American man that was in this case, he didn't have any evidence that pinpointed to him to the murder, whereas the Caucasian man pleaded guilty and admitted to the crimes that he committed. So that's a turnout that's seen all over the country when you compare both black and white men in the criminal justice system. They can commit the same type of crimes, and African American men will most likely receive the harsher punishment opposed to the Caucasian man. Another statistical finding that I put in the slide is same crimes in different times. It states that percentage difference in sentencing length for black men versus white men with similar backgrounds who commit the same crimes by time period. So I thought this was very interesting because, like I stated before, African American men are more likely to be committed, whereas the Caucasian men will not, even if they commit the same crime. Why is that though? So we're going to move on from the criminal justice system, move into the community. Some things I would like to address to individuals who are not in the African American or minority community is that African Americans, even though they may be looked to have a bad reputation, a bad stigma, there's a lot of good things about them. One of the fun facts that I added in the presentation is, according to the educational statistics, African American women actually make up, it states that they make up the largest group of people who are the most educated in the United States as of 2017. Another thing that I like to address is the crime on drugs or drug crimes. A lot of people are under the misinterpretation that African Americans tend to sell drugs, use drugs a lot, and I have put in a bar graph that I found on the internet that was a study from Stanford Law, and it was a policy review senior by the name of Jamie Foner who conducted the study, and it stated that African American compared to white men or the white population were lower in drug use and drug distributing. So for any illicit drug, cocaine and crack cocaine. So to educate the black culture, as I stated previously, some people may see individuals who wear all black, I have black on right now, as being a threat if they wear their hood. Sometimes it's just a cultural thing where they see it in music videos, or they may see it like growing up, they may be comfortable, and I don't think that just because someone's comfortable in a particular type of clothing that they should be judged. I feel that everyone should be treated as equal, and if you're going to feel that one group of people is a threat, you should feel that another group of people is a threat. If you don't want to look at it that way, you should treat everybody the same and don't judge before you know someone. So another thing that I have in here is that for the law enforcement as well as other communities who are not of the African American descent or even minorities, they have to understand dialect and language and slang. Sometimes they could be saying the same thing. They may try to come off as not being rude, but you may take it as being rude, and it's just a cultural talk and, you know, just how they communicate with each other. So it's not always being confrontational. It's not always being someone who starts trouble or anything of that nature. It's just how they may come off because that's what they're used to. So I have another slide that says cause and effect, and it states what are causes of injustice and what are some possible solutions, as well as what can affect the community if nothing is done. So what good things can happen and what bad things can happen. So some injustices that are seen in the African American community is those who are released from prison also have a higher rate of re-entering prison due to lack of employment, involvement in criminal activity, like selling drugs and trying to stay out of poverty, education, things of that nature. Things to solve this particular problem is having a program possibly to help those who leave prison to actually get a job. From personal experience with knowing individuals, it's very hard when you have a felony. It's very hard when you have a record to get a job once you get out of prison. A lot of employers are not hiring those who have a record, which means the people that I do know personally, they will probably sell drugs. And once they're caught, because remember they're on probation or parole, they're going to be back in jail. So creating a job opportunity to make sure that their focus can help them stay out of jail. Other things that are seen in my slide is the educational disparities, and it's also stated that those who are living in communities with lower income do not always get the proper education that may lead to them being in the streets, getting into criminal juvenile activities, which can fall into adulthood. If we don't fix injustice in this situation, this community, and actually create a world or a country where it's equal, things that can happen is companies may lose out economically because, as you see, Black Lives Matter and any protesting movements, they will boycott, they will fight to the end without using any violent methods, and they'll shut down jobs and opportunities financially. It can also increase homelessness because they're not able to get a job. So you'll have a higher rate of homelessness, you'll have a higher rate of crimes on the street, higher rate of drugs, just because they're not able to maintain themselves once they're released from jail. And due to the lack of education is needed because of the funding in the neighborhoods, children are not able to meet their full potential that are in the Black community. So to conclude everything with all the facts presented, I just want to have everybody understand that there's a lot of things that's going on, and we can fix it if we take the right steps. And taking the right steps is understanding one another and knowing that even though we all come from a different background, one group of people shouldn't be targeted or punished the most. Everybody should learn how to be equal amongst and across the board. So at the end, you'll see my references, and I hope you like it. And any questions you may have, please, please, please give me feedback. I'm willing to answer anything, and I hope you like it. Okay, bye.